Mr. Chairman, good to see you again. We are closing in on the final month of the legislature here. Are Democrats going to have any tangible victories to show that might end up at the governor's desk?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think people look at the legislature as just like, oh, we only pass a couple of bills here and there, but like the bulk of our work is the budget, is all these little administrative things here and there, and hundreds of bills here and there. The whole point of Democrats fighting at the beginning, fighting to make sure that we were respected, that we were given like the ability to fight for our communities, was about those things, right? I think because of our minority status, we're not going to have the big bills on the floor, but we have a lot of other bills on the floor. We have a lot of amendments and things that we got into those bigger bills that we don't necessarily talk about.
One member upstairs a few moments ago on the floor described this as a defensive session for Democrats. It was a Democrat who said that. Would you agree with that?
Sure. I mean, like, I think for the minority party, any session that you're not in the majority is a defensive session. That's just the nature of politics. So it's not a surprising thing at all.
At the end of the session, when the gavel drops, sine die, what will Texas Democrats look back on and consider success?
I mean, kind of to your point about being defensive thing, I mean, especially as the right is, I mean, the Republican Party is just going off the cliff in how extreme they've become. We've had to do more and more of the dealing with, as people are struggling to survive, as costs are going up, they're filing stuff about DEI and trans kids and all this stuff. Like what is this? Why are you doing this? You guys have already passed every single bill you could possibly want on all these things, and you want to keep doing this stuff instead of actually dealing with people's incomes, dealing with the rising cost of food, dealing with, like insurance companies are pulling out of the state. Yeah. What are we doing about those? Right? And we don't have as much time to work on those because we're dealing with the nonsense.
Let's talk about vouchers for a moment here. You said the other day after they passed, you said the fight's not over on vouchers. What's next then?
So look, one, the bill, even if the governor signs it, which, I would encourage people to start calling the governor and saying, hey, you don't need to sign this thing. You don't have to. You should listen to us.
But he wants it more than anybody.
But he is a politician nonetheless. And politicians, ultimately, you need to listen to the people who put you in office. And the public needs to tell them, you need to listen to us and not a couple of billionaires who wrote you big checks. At the end of the day, we are your bosses, not them, right? And if the governor decides that his bosses are actually 4 billionaires and Donald Trump's, then so be it. But the public needs to tell him, we are your boss, we are telling you to veto this bill.
But when you said that the fight's not over on vouchers, is there anything planned next? Is there legal action? Is there anything else that you can do
Yeah, without going into too much detail about what the next strategy is, I think one, the stuff doesn't go into effect for another 2 years, right? And I think it would be a good time with those intervening 2 years, if the communities want to start electing members that will actually listen to them and actually do what their community has asked them to do and defend the community the way the community wants to be defended, you could elect new people and we can come back and say, like, you know what, we were just kidding 2 years ago. We're going to pull this back, right? But we need a body and a governor who's willing to do that.
Vouchers were the big political battle, at least in the headlines here. Is there anything else that you guys see in the remaining 4 or 5 weeks here that you're really going after to try to stop?
I think in terms of just insane things, there's tons of insane things, but I think for the most part, the House has really tamped down on it, or at least made an effort to, and tried to focus more on bills that actually move Texans forward and things that actually makes people's lives better. I know that a lot of those pieces of legislation they're in the House. They're stuck in the House because the Senate is happy to rubber stamp anything that Governor Abbott or Dan Patrick puts on their desk. But I think the House, in looking at everything that's going on, is really asking the harder questions like, wait, why are we doing this? Is this something that's actually important for the people? Is this something that we've already covered multiple times? And given everything that's happening right now, is this really a priority, or are other things dealing with things that directly affect people's lives, like income and food costs and everything else, are those more important?
Like affordability, and that
Yeah.
kind of leads to my next question here too. Last time you and I spoke, it was right after Democrats got Dustin Burroughs elected as Speaker. Burroughs went on to pass school vouchers. That's huge Republican priority. Is there any regret voting for Burroughs?
Look, that's up to individual members. I think no matter what the choice was, our choice was between someone who has basically said that they would give us power, would give us the ability to defend ourselves and speak up for our legislation, versus somebody who says, no, we'll cut you off at the knees. So no matter what happens with vouchers, I think those kind of like decisions are really clear. It's like, why would we ever work with somebody or give our vote to somebody that says you have no power, no place here?
Has Burroughs lived up to any of the thinking that Democrats had?
Look, I think, has Burroughs lived up to his word? I think that's for individual members to make their own decisions on. But a lot of the commitments, like making sure that Democrats have power in committee, making sure that our bills go through, making sure that people aren't just voting against us just because we're Democrats, and actually vote on the policy. I think those we've seen those. But like, let's wait till the end of the session to make a decision.
A few last questions here. Let me ask you about THC. The House bills to ban THC is still in committee. Yep. It's a little different from the Senate version, obviously. The House wants to allow THC in beverages. Is this going to get to the House floor, do you think?
I don't know. And I think in the current form, both bills are just bans of different kinds, sure. Right? The Senate bill is a total and complete ban, which is, I think, for the vast majority of people, is just a non-starter. I think for the House bill, essentially is a ban as well. If you're saying that you can only get it in alcoholic beverages, well, not everyone wants alcoholic beverages. That's kind of the point, right? And if you can only buy them in certain places, it's a ban. I mean, a ban is a ban, right? It's effectively a ban. I think what people are looking for, what the public has said repeatedly, is like, look, adults like having this. Responsible adults can use this, and it can be safe. It can be a great medicine for people who need it, and for everyone else who just wants to have a good time and not have to chug down like 6 beers. You know, like, why do this? I think what the public wants is a reasonable regulatory system. Neither of these bills in the current form are any sort of reasonable regulation.
Lieutenant Governor Patrick's threatening to force a special session if this doesn't pass the House. Do you expect to be back here during the summer for a special session at all?
I certainly hope not. I think one of the places where we would come back for a special session, it would not be THC, because again,
what would it be?
It has to be something that is important and vital to the people of the state of Texas. And I think what we might come back for is dealing with what is happening caused by the instability caused by the Republican tariffs, right? So the tariffs are burning through the country. We've not fully felt the impact of it because we've been living off of stored materials.
But what would the state role in that be, do you think?
I think there will be large number of job losses, people losing their homes, and I think people will be looking for assistance. The state, I think, is going to have to come in and provide assistance. I think things are going to get really bad.
You think so?
I think so.
Is there talk about that the legislature might have to act later this year?
No, and I think that's a real problem. I think most people are not talking about this, but if you listen, look at the dollar valuation. Look at the valuation of the dollar. Look at 20 and 30 years U.S. Treasury bonds. They're dropping like a rock.
Everything but gold is.
Right. Gold's going up because instability,
sure.
Right? And more or less, especially the bonds, that is a vote on the future of America. If you don't believe that a country will be around in 30 years or 20 years or 10 years, well, you wouldn't buy a 20 or 30-year bond from them. And if you look at the reports from the shipping ports and stuff, shipping traffic is going to go down to zero, which then means that people are going to lose their jobs. The rail lines, people are going to lose their jobs. Overland shipping, trucking is going to have massive layoffs, and those will have ripple effects. Walmart gets 60% of its items from China. If those items are now triple the cost or just not available. How do they stay open?
If the president backs off on these tariffs, which it looks like he's caving right now, does that change things?
I don't think
the damage is done?
The damage is already done. I mean, and basically, like everyone else in China and Canada, all said we don't care that you remove the reciprocal tariffs. We're keeping ours in place because you guys seem to change your mind every 3 days. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to matter. The die has been cast, and we're going to have to live with it.
And Texas has escaped these, the 2008 financial crisis. Texas, didn't get hit that bad.
Escaped better than most other
exactly.
places, and I think that was because of NAFTA, because so much traffic between the United States, Mexico, and Canada goes through Texas. We were buffered from it, but now we're in a trade war with Canada, Mexico, and China, who are our number 1, number 2, and number 3 largest trading partners. China last week said that they are canceling all LNG orders. 2026
elections coming up. What are you hearing that Democrats are focused on? What would you tell them to focus on?
I've not heard anything. I think for us, the session is the first priority.
Finishing that up.
Finishing it up and dealing with the things here. But I don't think my message, honestly, would be any different than what it's been. Is like Democrats are going to focus on the things that people actually care about. We will always defend people being bullied. But our main defense is the defense of the American people, the defense of the middle class, right? And everything that we've done in the last 30 to 40 years has been about slowly eroding the stones that lift up the middle class, right? Public education, healthcare, public infrastructure, strong government, having great government jobs. All those things keep the middle class in the middle class. And all those things that we've now finally realized with the passage of the voucher bill and everything, that those things have been chipped away. And, not to mix metaphors, but we're the frog in the pot, and they've been turning up the temperature real slow. And now people are starting to think, hey, are we in a giant pot that has a fire under it?
Middle class voters, though, are voting to the right.
Yep, against their own interests.
So what do Democrats do then?
I think as people have their find out moments, as we're going through this year, and I think 2025 is going to be the year of finding out.
Yeah.
And really, Americans are going to find out the hard way that elections have consequences, that even inaction or non-voting is voting, and that you get what you vote for, right? And if you vote for policies, you vote for people who push policies that are bad for you, but you feel like they're speaking your language on social issues because they're told you who to hate, well, there are consequences for that. And I think what Democrats need to do is we need to stand right where we have always stood. And says Democrats have never moved from this spot. We have always been about fighting for the middle class, right? We have always been about education, about healthcare, about jobs, about doing all those things that make life possible in America. That people don't have to scrape and scrimp every single day for every single thing. We want to go back to America where we want to go back to the Homer Simpson America, where you can have a decent job that takes care of a nice house, that if your spouse doesn't want to work, they don't have to work, and you can take care of 3 kids and whatever else. We want to go back to that. We want to go back to an America where Americans get to brag, we are the best.
This is your first year leading House Democrats. Do you like the position?
Ask me in a few months.
At the end of the session?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have aspirations for higher office?
Who doesn't?
Mr. Chairman, good to see you again.